Hi folks, welcome again to the 8 Regents of Westeros tournament. In this video we will go over the rules document. So I think every player should read the rules document. It's kind of mandatory. Important that you understand everything that's stated here, and I've just timed myself going through it once. It took me 9 minutes and 30 seconds and I skipped the draft part, which has already happened. So it's not a huge investment. I think everyone should find the time to do that. But if you don't, then hopefully this helps. And there is no excuse for not knowing the rules. So if something goes wrong and you haven't followed the rules correctly, it's on you, and you might get punished for that, either through losing some games by default or getting reprimanded in some way. So let's go through it. So the 8 Regions of Westeros, as everyone knows, is a team tournament. We have 8 teams, one for each faction, and it's similar to the war format of the past, but not quite. And we have the schedule here. So where are we in this one? So during season, it's about to end this Sunday, and then the tournament proper starts the following Monday on August 12th and lasts until the end of September. Teams and regions. So if you're not a region, this is not as relevant for you, but the regions, of course, are responsible for doing some stuff for their teams. That includes communicating with the organizers. They've already drafted players. They have mostly already traded players. So as we said, we have 1 week to complete silly season, but looks like everything is pretty much done. They will pick additional agendas. We'll go through that later in this video. And they will also submit their players for each round, and if anything else comes up that needs an official decision, it will be done by the regents. So if a regent is unavailable at any point, another player of the team can do that, of course with notifying the organizers in advance. And this is a list. I've added their jousting pavilion profiles here. You can click on it. So it's mostly players you know from the community, going from fairly new players like Rupert, who has been playing for a couple of years online in these tournaments, all the way to, of course, veterans of the game. Now the draft we can skip because it's already happened. After the draft, yes, so everything takes place on Discord, and you're supposed to join the main server. So I hope every player is already there. If you're not, do that ASAP. Although not sure how you're seeing this video if you're not on the 8 Region server. And if anyone else wants to join just to see what's going on, of course, you're very welcome to do so. All the announcements will be posted there, and all the communication is done on that server as well. Every team presumably has its own Discord server as well, where they can talk about strategy and build decks and stuff like that. If you're a player and your team doesn't have one, then I guess your region just sucks a little bit, but I think everyone has set that up, I'm sure. If you don't have Discord, I think this mostly applies to the few Chinese players we have. Not sure if Discord is restricted anywhere else. You of course have to find another way to communicate with the players and get all the announcements. All players must make sure they're in control of their Jousting Pavilion profiles. What does that entail? So on Jousting Pavilion you're supposed to be logged in here, right? And you have to have control of your own account. This allows you to report your games. For instance, your game will be listed here. If you click on the home page, I'm playing Isapostolos in Champions of Westeros, and it will allow me to report results. So you should see your own game. If you click on this, I can see everything because I'm a moderator, but let's say you are Lucas and Denis, right? You should be able to select your faction and agenda here and select the winner and report your game. Now if you don't have access to your account, if you're not in control of it, you should sort this out before the tournament, not when you're desperately trying to report results before a deadline or something like that. So most of the organizers are, I think, moderators on the jousting pavilion, so they can sort that for you. Just let them know, and this will be settled. And yes, if anyone cannot be reached after the draft, they are removed. I assume everyone has been reached because I've heard nothing of anyone going missing. Silly season started on July 22nd, and we have another week of it, so it ends, as you can see here, on midnight, August 11th, that's Sunday. And what is silly season? So it's a period where players and agendas can be traded. Now it looks like nothing else will be happening, so I won't go into too much detail. So just says here that in order to trade agendas, you have to also trade players, and you can trade 2 players for 1 player because teams are uneven. A few have extra players, but you're supposed to keep enough players so that you can play all of your games. And no double trades, and there's a maximum of 4 agendas because last year things got a little crazy with the agenda trades, so this year a little bit more limited. And yes, regions can make as many trades as they like, of course, but they're limited by the rules above. And everyone can be traded to any team. You don't have to respect the player's wishes, but I think every region has kind of done that anyway. Yes, but now this is slightly more important because it still needs to be resolved. Available agendas. So there's 40 agendas in the legal card pool at the moment, which means every team has been given 1 copy of each of those agendas, including free folk, including their own banner. And in order to trade the agendas, you have to include them in a player trade, and you are supposed to keep 40 throughout silly season. You can trade anything for anything basically, but this number needs to be 40, and there will be actually 56 games in the tournament, so you will need more. And what happens is, before silly season ends, so by that same deadline, midnight on August 11th, you are supposed to pick some additional agendas, so 56 games, which means you will need 16 more, but actually we are giving you 17, so that you get 1 extra that will remain unplayed. You don't need to decide in advance which one is unplayed, just the one that hasn't been used when all the games are completed. And yes, this basically the region does this, but I assume it's going to be decided within the teams. And from the 40 agendas that exist in the legal card pool, you pick 17, so maximum of 1 for each, of course, and you add them to your list of available agendas until you have 57. Doesn't matter how you traded during silly season, this additional choice is not affected, and it's possible in theory to end up with a bunch of copies of the same agenda if you've traded for it with multiple teams, and it's also entirely possible that you have 0 copies of other agendas. Yeah, but mainly you should have 1 or 2 of each, I think, because we've limited the trading a little bit this year, so we have to play most of them. Tournament format, so we have to keep these 2 terms in mind here. A game is between 2 individual players, so let's say Alex and Argento, if they play each other, that would be a game, and the match is between 2 teams, so if Baratheon and Lannister play each other, that's a match, and the match consists of 8 individual games. We have 7 rounds in total over 7 weeks. Everyone plays each other in a round-robin system, and each week from Monday to Sunday is a single round where all of the games need to be played. Pairings are randomized. I think Zini will do that live on stream like he did last year, and there is a deadline here, kind of, so 8 in the evening on Sunday GMT is where everything kind of needs to be concluded, or at least games need to be in progress and towards the end, so that the admin after the round can be done on Sunday night before pairings are announced on Monday morning. Maybe pairings are already announced on Sunday, not sure, but the round is supposed to start on Monday. Who wins the match? Well, so any result is possible, from 8-0 either way to 4-4, which would be a draw. And win is worth 2 points, loss is of course worth 0, and if a match is drawn, both teams get 1 point. And at the end of the tournament, you get the final standings, you add up these points, and whoever has the most points wins the tournament. And if there's a tie for first place, you have the following tiebreakers. So first of all, you look at the result between the tied teams, and if that's still doesn't resolve it, then you go to individual games just between those teams. And if still you cannot resolve it, you go to all individual games against everyone in the tournament. Now that's very likely to result in getting the winner, but if it's still tied, then we have this additional match that is to be played. I'm not sure if you should cover this here because it's unlikely to happen, but basically Regents pick 3 of their best players and they play a best of 3 against the other team using any agenda, but only using each agenda once. And whoever wins 2 of those 3 wins the tournament. And if it's more than 2 teams involved, then some kind of variation will be used. Exact details to be announced because it's so unlikely that we didn't go through all of those eventualities here. Ties for minor places, the same as for first place, except if you still cannot split it with these 3 tiebreakers here, then it just remains a tie. We're not going to play additional best of 3 matches for 5th place or something like that. Restricted list, yes, it's 111 is the official one at the point of recording this video. I think it's going to be official at the start of the tournament as well. If a new one comes out, hopefully it will be legal on Monday, but if it's somehow legal midweek, then what we do is we conclude the round with the previous restricted list, and then from Monday onwards, from the following round, a new restricted list is used. Same with if a new expansion comes out, so cards cannot be used until the following round, but from Monday onwards you can use the new cards. And if something weird happens, like a restricted list bans something, or an FAQ update bans something, like an agenda that the team still has to use, then we will improvise. The organizers will make a decision, most likely overruling that particular part of the restricted list for the purposes of completing this tournament. Let's see the match rules. So yes, the regions have to submit a list of players. So this happens privately. I think the first year we did it just sending it to the organizers, but now there is a bot on Discord. I can show you probably. So this is one of the channels on Discord, the one where you can schedule games, but there is a similar one that the regions have access to that allows you to nominate players. Basically you use a bot command here. I think Hannes will provide an announcement for everyone before the tournament starts how exactly this is to be used. And yes, the regions will submit a list of players that is known only to them, and it will all be revealed when the tournament or when the round actually starts. So that same deadline applies, 8 in the evening on Sunday. I think the bot can be used in advance as well, so it's not a problem if a regent is not available at that time. If a regent is generally unavailable for a while, then another player will just take care of that, I guess. We'll have to get permissions from the organizers, but it's not a problem, just let us know. How are the pennings done? So first round completely random between the actual players, and then in subsequent rounds you just go through the rankings on the jousting pavilion. Now what this means is, let's see an example. So let's say it's Baratheon against Greyjoy, and the first couple of players here are playing that round. It's going to be Rios against Superdog because they're ranked at the top. Then Tassos would play Alex, Ivan would play Alexander, and then let's say Richard is the 8th player according to the rankings. He would play whoever number 8 was here. Let's say a few are missing, and then the 8th highest ranked would be right way down, and then he would be paired against Richard. That's how it works. Same as the previous years. And you have to play all of the games, so even if it's already 5-0 to one of the teams, you have to play the remaining games. And you can use whatever agenda if you want to get rid of it, if you think it's weak or something like that. That's a perfectly legitimate strategy. You just cannot concede games without playing them, or just go through the motions with absolutely no effort. That would be frowned upon, I think, because the games do affect the overall standings. They are all important, even if winning the match is the most important thing. Individual games should still be played with care, and if someone is just doing anything weird here, I think they could be possibly reprimanded in some way. Scheduling the game, so when the pairings are announced, it should be either Sunday night or Monday morning. You'll know who your opponent is, and you're supposed to contact them as early as possible, talk about time that suits both of you, and then I've showed you on Discord. That channel presumably will be available to everyone so that you can use the bot command and add it to the master calendar and to the main spreadsheet. Now, what does that mean? So it's going to be a calendar like this that has all the games. This is from last year, so it's empty on at the moment in August 2024, but the games will be listed here. And there is going to be one of these spreadsheets again where these times will automatically be added when the bot is used, right? And then you have a list of games, and when the result is reported, this will be automatically updated as well. So that's yeah, Hannes has done a great job with the bot, so it makes everything very easy for the players and the organizers if it all works correctly and if everyone takes care to actually use it. Now, if someone goes missing or if someone is ignoring attempts at communication to schedule a game, then of course you just let the organizers know, and yeah, games can be awarded against that player, which would be really unfortunate. And then the regents just submit an agenda that would have been played, and that agenda is gone from the list. Now, if two players make an effort, but somehow their schedules mean that you cannot possibly play during that week, then let the organizers know and we'll see what can be done. And if a player who is scheduled to play in a particular round suddenly becomes unavailable, then there are some reserves, so a few players will sit out every week for each team, and someone can step in if they are available to play instead of that player. They would play their opponent according to the pairing as if they were that player. Now this is to be used just so games are not won by default. But if there is some suspicion that someone has done it to manipulate pairings, let's say you submit a player who is lower than the rankings to get an easier game, and then some top player steps in to play that. If it smells weird to the organizers, then this will just be rejected. But other than that, it should be fine. And if a team cannot send a substitute player to cover that game, of course they just lose by default. In which case, of course, you also submit the agendas. Now let's see the game rules. So of course you are in a particular faction, which means you can only play decks from that faction, and you can choose any agenda you like. But it has to be on the list of available agendas for your team at the time the game is played. So you're supposed to maintain that list and update it, so when you spend an agenda, remove it. And the agendas are not submitted in advance, decks are not open, they are not fixed at any point. You can deck build until a few minutes before the game starts, and just make sure you use a legal agenda. And if you use an agenda that you've already spent or your team never even had in the first place, then you lose by default. Even if it's noticed later, we're just going to go back and award that game against you. And then the regent, of course, will submit an agenda that would have been used or that is considered to have been used in that game, and that agenda is then removed from the list. Can't play no agenda, you have to choose one. So even if it's some kind of negative agenda, you have to use it rather than use a deck without an agenda. Some rules here. So as I said, you do get free folk, and you have to play free folk with your own maybe that should be actually be added to the rules document. You have to play free folk with your own faction. So let's say you use Jon Snow, you have to also choose Night's Watch so that Ocean Road will not actually then reduce the cost to marshal Jon Snow. And as for Alliance is just considered Alliance. So if you play Alliance with, let's say, Banner Kraken and Banner Stag, you just remove Alliance from the list. Those additional banners that you use with Alliance are not removed from the list, and you don't even need to have them on the list. You can play Alliance with anything. There will be an 8 Regents mode on the Iron Throne when you select the game, so 55 minutes time limit, and open to spectators. Anyone can record, anyone can stream, and no password. So if you use a password, you've lost the game. So when you start the game on the Iron Throne, there will be a mode here. Currently there isn't one, but it should be added. That's something like this, and then it will be, the settings will be set for you. If someone is late to the game, we have 15 minutes in this document. Then of course the opponent can claim the win, and then you again submit an agenda that you would have used. Now here you're not actually required to tell the truth, right? So if you're going to play Star Crossing and the opponent hasn't shown up, you are free to say, I was going to use green site in that game. If there's connection issues, someone gets disconnected and then can't connect again, unfortunately that's a loss for that game. But if there's some technical difficulties or some problem with the Iron Throne and the game is not completed, then you have to play the game in full, and you have to use the same deck. So no choosing different agendas, and definitely not tweaking your deck to suit that particular opponent and include any kind of counters. Now this we cannot really police, but hopefully there is some sportsmanship if something like this ever happens. There is no official judges in this tournament, so if there is a judge call during a game, you must unmute spectators. So if the 8 Regions mode has muted spectators by default, make sure to unmute them during a judge call, and then anyone can answer the questions if they are confident of the answer. So basically anyone who is neutral, not a member of either team, can act as a judge. And if that causes some kind of delay, so that the game goes to time and it's reasonable to expect that another round could have been played, then a judge, so a neutral observer that is recognized as a fair judge in that situation, can also rule that there could be an additional round. Yeah, slow play is always a problem in these tournaments. There is always a game or two that has some accusations of slow play, and it's always very difficult to do anything about it. So we ask everyone to just play as fairly as possible. Make sure you don't stall the game so that you get some wins in situations where you didn't really deserve it. And yes, nothing really to be done. You can, I guess, yeah, you can always ask your opponent to play faster, and if it's something really outrageous, then hopefully someone is there spectating and something can be done, but usually it's quite difficult. Teamwork, of course, this is a team tournament, so strategies to be discussed, decks are to be built by your team. However, the actual games should be played by the individual player, so you can't have a voice call where someone is just whispering in your ear exactly what decisions to take, and you can't be on Discord asking your team what plot should I reveal or something like that. You just play yourself. Again, not something we can police, but we ask for fair play here so that everyone can play their own games. And after the game is completed, the winner is supposed to report the result on the Jousting Pavilion. Not sure if... so these links, by the way, are provisional. The Jousting Pavilion for this tournament has not been set up yet, but should be before the tournament starts. Not sure if you also need to report on Discord via the bot, possibly. We'll let you know. But I think Jousting Pavilion should suffice. If it's Sunday night and Zin is about to do pairings for the next round and something is not reported and no one knows why, okay, if you tell the organizers I've had some technical issues, please can you report that, that's fine. But if it's unreported and no one has heard about the result, then the organizers will ask who won the game, and if the player who won has failed to report it, then the other player gets the win. You have been notified that will happen if you don't report your games. Here is the schedule, so 1 week per round, as we said, starting a week from now on Monday, and it ends at the end of September. There could be, if there's an additional game, could be first week of October, but as I said, that seems unlikely. And yes, the final chapter here. So if something happens that is not covered in this rules document, of course the organizers have to improvise a decision, which they do, and that decision is then final, of course. And if something is covered in the rules document, but applying the actual rules would be extremely unfair for some reason. Obviously, if I could imagine such a situation, it would be covered by the rules, but I don't know what that could be. But the organizers do reserve the right to overrule this in the interest of fairness if something like that happens. Yes, and an important one to conclude with, so please do conduct yourselves in a fair and sporting manner throughout the tournament. So that means during games on the Iron Throne, in the chat, chatting on Discord. We encourage friendly banter. It's supposed to be a fun tournament, but if it turns into an argument on Discord where it's just bickering like we've had in the past in this tournament and others, then we're not going to tolerate it again. So I will just delete the posts, one warning, and then if anyone is being an asshole, they will just be removed from the tournament. And if something else comes up, of course, once again, the organizers make a decision on the spot, and that decision is final. So that's all we had. In case there's any more questions, feel free to ask. But if you get caught out by something and it turns out you have not read the rules or watched this video, that's on you, and you have to pay the consequences. So thank you everyone for watching, and hope you enjoy the 8 Regions tournament.